Veronica Chukwudi sat quietly on the veranda of her modest bungalow in Surulere, wiping sweat from her face with the edge of her wrapper. The afternoon sun was hot, and the neighborhood buzzed with the unusual Lagos sound: distant horns, shouting traders, and the laughter of children playing football down the street. She looked around her compound with tired but proud eyes. The little house wasn't fancy, but it was hers, built from years of sacrifice and discipline. Every block on the wall, every tile in the floor was paid for with her pension savings after 35 years as a civil servant. She remembered those long years at the Ministry of Works, where she often stayed late to complete reports, dreaming that one day she would have a house of her own and a better life for her son. Her only son, Peter, was her pride and joy. She had raised him alone after losing her husband to an accident when Peter was just 6 years old. It has not been easy juggling work, school fees, and rent while feeding off pity from neighbors who thought a widow could not make it. But through determination and God's grace, she had succeeded. Peter had graduated from university, gotten a job at a bank, and was doing well for himself. To Veronica, he was her crown. She often thanked God that her son labored had not been in vain. But lately, something about her son troubled her heart. Peter had changed. He was no longer the humble boy who used to wash her clothes and call her mommy me. These days, he acted as though he was too big for everything she represented: her way of talking, her cooking, even the way she dressed. The change began after he met Ada, the young woman he planned to marry. Ada was beautiful and sophisticated, the kind of woman you would expect to see stepping out of a Range Rover in Lekki. Ada's father was a big businessman and her mother ran a chain of boutique. Veronica had tried to welcome her warmly, but from the first day Ada visited, the older woman sensed a war between them. Ada had looked around the house with a faint smile, not the kind of smile that showed appreciation, but one that carried hidden judgment. Veronica noticed it, but she said nothing. She simply prayed that her son would not lose his sense of humility because of the new woman in his life, as Ada was very rich and was from a wealthy home. That evening, when Peter returned from work, Veronica prepared his favorites, pounded yam and egusi soup. As they ate together, she tried to start a conversation. "My son, I hope you are treating that fine girl well, oh. She looks like someone who enjoys being pampered," Veronica said, smiling. Peter laughed lightly. "Ah, Mama, Ada is not just fine. She's special. She's the daughter of Chief Eze. Their family is not like us. You should see their house. It's like a palace." Veronica smiled faintly, though a small worry tugged at her heart. That's good. But my son, remember who you are. Don't let wealth make you forget the value of respect." Peter waved his hands carelessly. "Mama, I know what I am doing." She sighed quietly and said no more. A few weeks later, Peter told his mother that Ada would be coming over for dinner. Veronica was delighted. She spent the day cleaning the house, scrubbing the floor, and polishing her few stainless steel plates. She wanted to make a good impression. When Ada arrived that evening, Peter ran outside to receive her. She stepped out of her sleek Toyota car, wearing a fitted gown and holding an expensive handbag. Veronica greeted her warmly at the door. "Ah, my daughter Ada, welcome. You are highly welcome," she said, spreading her hands in excitement. "Good evening, ma," Ada replied with a polite smile. Her eyes scanned the living room, the old furniture, framed graduation pictures, and lace curtain. Her smile faded slightly. Veronica led her to the dining table, where she had arranged pounded yam, egusi soup, and vegetable soup. Ada looked at the table and frowned faintly when she noticed the enamel plates. "Ah, Mama, you really went all out," Peter said cheerfully, pulling a chair for Ada. "Thank you, ma," Ada said, sitting down carefully. As they began to eat, Veronica tried to make conversation. So, Ada, my daughter, where are you people from? Imo State, ma. Ada replied, her tone polite but distant. Ah, same with my late husband, oh. You are welcome, my child. I can see why my son likes you. You are very beautiful. Ada smiled briefly, then whispered something to Peter. He chuckled quietly. Veronica pretended not to notice. When the meal ended, Veronica brought a tray of Zobo drink, but as she placed it on the table, Ada leaned towards Peter and said in a low voice, Babe, this place reminds me of our old village house. It's so local. Veronica heard her clearly. She paused for a moment, then forced a smile. My daughter, yes, it's not much, but it's home. Peter, embarrassed, hissed softly, Mama, you don't need to answer everything. Ada laughed, flicking her hair. The moment stung Veronica deeply, but she said nothing. She quietly sat on a nearby chair, watching them talk and laugh as though she wasn't there. Later that night, after Ada left, Veronica turned to her son gently. Peter, my son, I don't know what you're trying to prove to this girl, but don't let love make you disrespect your roots. That house you live in, I built it with my sweat. Never forget that. Peter sighed in irritation. Mama, you're always taking things too seriously. Ada is not like you. She has class. I am trying to build a life that matches hers. Veronica looked at him sadly. And what kind of life is that, my son? A life where you are ashamed of your mother? Peter frowned. Please, Mama, don't start. I am tired. He walked into his room and banged the door, leaving Veronica in tears. The day it happened started like any other day. Veronica had just returned from morning mass and was sweeping the compound when she heard a car horn outside. She looked up and saw Peter's car. Ada was beside him, smiling through the window. Peter stepped out, looking sharp in a white shirt and designer trouser. He walked up to his mother. Mama, please, clean the sitting room. Ada's friends is coming with her. They just want to chill a bit before going out. Veronica nodded. No problem, my son. She quickly dusted the chair and rearranged the table. When Ada and her friends arrived, the air in the house changed. The two ladies were dressed elegantly, laughing loudly, and taking selfies. They sat down, complaining about how hot the place was. Mama, do you have cold drinks? Peter asked. Yes, I have Zobo and Fanta, Veronica replied. Ada rolled her eyes playfully. Zobo again? Peter laughed nervously. Mama, maybe next time try to keep some wine or malt in the fridge. You know, something standard. Veronica paused and looked at him. My son, this is a home and not a bar. If you want wine, you can buy and keep some for yourself. Ada giggled, whispering to her friend, See this old woman, oh. Veronica's patience snapped a little. Young lady, please mind how you talk. I might be your mother-in-law soon, but I still deserve respect. The room went quiet. Ada looked away, smirking. Peter's face hardened. Mama, why would you talk to her like that in front of her friend? He asked sharply. Veronica frowned. Because she disrespected me. Peter's voice rose. She was only joking. Must you always take things so personal? You are embarrassing me. Before Veronica could reply, Peter stepped closer, his eyes filled with anger and shame. Ada sat back, watching with amusement, and then it happened. Peter raised his hands and slapped his mother. The sound echoed through the room. Pa! For a moment, everything froze. Ada gasped, then laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. Peter, you people are funny, oh, she said, still giggling. But Veronica wasn't laughing. She stood there, her face trembling, one hand pressed to her cheek. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at her son, the same boy she had carried in her womb for 9 months, the one she suffered for, prayed for, and built life around. Peter, she whispered, her voice breaking. You slapped me, your mother? Peter opened his mouth, but no words came out. He turned away, ashamed yet still too proud to apologize. Ada looked uncomfortable now. Let's just go, Peter. It's not that deep. Veronica didn't say another word. She walked into her room quietly, picked up her small handbag, and came out again. She didn't look at her son. Mother, Mama, where are you going? Peter asked awkwardly. She didn't answer. She just opened the gate, stepped out, and walked down the street. Peter watched her go, but didn't follow. She will come back, he said, forcing a laugh. Ada shrugged. Your mom is dramatic, Sha. They both tried to continue their day, but something shifted in the air. That night, for the first time in years, the house felt cold. Peter couldn't sleep. He kept hearing the echo of that slap, sharp and heavy, and seeing the tears in his mother's eyes. But his pride wouldn't let him go after her. He convinced himself she just needed time to cool off. He had no idea that the woman he called mother, Veronica Chukudi, the woman who gave up her pension to build that home, was walking away forever. For the first few days after Veronica left, Peter didn't bother searching for her. He assumed she was only angry and would return while she cooled down. But a week passed, and then another. Her phone was switched off. None of her church friends had seen her. At first, Peter pretended not to care. He spent his evening with Ada, assuring himself that his mother was only being too dramatic. But deep down, something was eating at him. Every time he walked into the sitting room, he saw her slippers by the door, her wrapper folded neatly on the chair. The house felt empty. Even Ada noticed. Babe, she said one night, you should just go and beg your mother. You know, mothers can overreact sometimes. Peter frowned. She was the one who disrespected me, Ada. I didn't do anything wrong. Ada sighed. Still, she's your mother. Peter said nothing. He didn't like being reminded of the slap or reprimanded. The memory burned like fire inside him. He kept replaying the moment in his head. Her face, the shock in her eyes, the way she walked away without a word. As days turned into weeks, guilt began to choke him. He tried calling her again and again, but her numbers were unreachable. Meanwhile, somewhere in Agege, Veronica Chukudi sat alone in a small rented room. It was a modest space, one iron bed, one chair, and a curtain dividing the room from the kitchen corner. She had been staying there since the day she left. Every night, she wept quietly. The pain of that slap went deeper than the skin. It was not just about the physical pain, but the betrayal her son, the child she had gave her life to raise, had humiliated her in front of strangers. She couldn't go back. She didn't want to face him again or live in that house that now carried the memory of her shame. One morning, after crying through the night, she sat up and stared at the ceiling. A decision began to form in her heart. What is the use of that house? She muttered bitterly. If the son I built it for can raise his hands against me, then let him have nothing to return to. That week, she met with a property agent who had once admired her compound. She told him she wanted to sell the house. The man was surprised. Madam Veronica, are you sure? That's your family house. I know, she said calmly, but I don't want to keep what bring me pain. And within 3 weeks, the house was sold. She collected the money, packed a few belongings, and relocated to another city, Benin, where no one knew her story. She didn't tell anyone, not even her church members. She wanted to start life afresh, to live quietly, pray, and forgive in her own time. Back in Lagos, Peter had begun to panic. He went to her church to ask after her. The women there looked at him with pity. Brother Peter, we haven't seen Madam Veronica for some time now. One of them said, she didn't even come for the last vigil. He drove home in silence that evening. The house felt like a tomb. Every corner reminded him of her gentle voice, her laughter, her food. He sat in the sitting room and whispered, "Mama, where are you?" No one answered. It was a Saturday morning. Peter sat in the living room, staring blankly at his phone when Ada walked in quietly. She looked serious, her usual bright smile nowhere to be seen. "Peter," she began, sitting opposite him, "we need to talk." He looked up, slightly worried. "What's wrong?" Ada hesitated. "I have been thinking a lot about what happened with your mom." Peter groaned softly. "Ada, please, I don't want to talk about that again." "But I want to," she insisted. "It's been on my mind. I have tried to overlook it, but I can't, Peter. You slapped your mother." Peter's eyes darkened. "Ada, you're making it sound like I killed someone. She insulted you in the front of your friends. What was I supposed to do? I wanted to defend you, and I thought you liked it." Ada shook her head slowly. "You were supposed to defend her, not humiliate your mother." He blinked, shocked. "Wait, what?" I thought that day you were happy now with the way I defended you." Ada sighed. "I laughed because I was uncomfortable, but inside, I was disgusted. I just didn't want to embarrass you further in front of my friends." Peter stared at her, speechless. Ada continued, her voice trembling slightly. "Peter, any man who can slap his mother has the potential to do worse. If you can raise your hand against the woman who gave birth to you, what will stop you from hitting your wife one day?" Ada, you know I will never touch you now," Peter protested. She shook her head firmly. "I can't take that risk, oh. I have thought about it, and I can't go on with the wedding." The words hit him like thunder. "What are you saying?" he asked, his voice breaking. "I am saying it's over," Ada replied quietly. "I am sorry, but I can't marry a man who abuses his mother. My parents raised me better than that." Peter stood up angrily. "So you are leaving me because of one mistake?" Na Ada now. Ada nwa. Why will you now? You know I love you. I only did that because I love you. I wanted to prove the love I have for you. Ada Beke, Ada baby, don't do this to me. Please." Ada looked up at him, her eyes cold. "It wasn't just a mistake, Peter. It was a revelation. That slap showed me who you really are." She removed her engagement ring, placed it on the table, and stood up. "Goodbye, Peter," she said, and walked out. Peter stood there frozen. He wanted to shout, to stop her, to explain himself, but words refused to come. Instead, he sat down heavily on the chair, buried his face in his hands, and let out a sound that was half scream and half sob. Everything was falling apart. His mother was gone. Now, Ada too, the same woman. He had already planned everything, that he was going to come into a wealthy family. He was going to be rooted out of poverty. All of a sudden, he's gone too. The following week, Peter decided to take a few days off work to clear his head. He told himself he needed to breathe, to get away from the stress. He decided to travel to the east for a short break. When he returned to Lagos 2 weeks later, something strange awaited him. As he drove into the streets where his house was, he noticed some unfamiliar faces in the compound. A young man was painting the front wall, and a woman was hanging clothes outside. He parked and stepped out. Excuse me," he said politely. "Who are you people, and what are you doing here?" The woman turned and frowned slightly. "We should be asking you that question. This is our house." Peter looked at her and started laughing, thinking it was a joke. "Your house?" "No, madam. This is my mother's house. Oh, I live here." The woman wiped her hands and walked closer. "You are Peter Chukwudi." "Yes," he said, still confused. She reached into her bag and brought out a brown envelope. "This house was sold to us 3 weeks ago. Here are the documents." Peter froze. "Sold by who?" "By Mrs. Veronica Chukwudi, your mother." The words hit like a hammer. He took the papers and scanned through them. It was true. His mother's signature was there, clear and neat. The property agent's stamp was there too. Peter's leg felt weak. He looked around the compound he grew up, where he had slapped his mother. His knees wobbled beneath him. Everything was gone. The woman looked at him with pity. I am sorry, but we bought it legally. You have to leave. Peter nodded slowly. I understand. He walked to his car, sat inside, and stared blankly at the gates. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, he realized how final his mother's departure was. She had truly erased him from her life. That night, Peter slept in his car. The next day, he called one of his friends, Kunle, to ask for a place to stay. Kunle allowed him to squat for a while, but after 2 months, Peter could no longer contribute to food or bills. His savings were drying up. He became withdrawn, moody, and constantly broke. He tried reaching Ada again, but she had blocked his number. His colleagues noticed his distraction at work. His performance dropped. Within months, he was called into HR and politely asked to resign. From there, life went downhill fast. He sold his car to survive, then his clothes, then his phone. By the 6th month after the slap, Peter was sleeping on a friend's couch and eating once a day. One night, as rain poured outside, he lay awake thinking about his life. He remembered how his mother used to pray for him before he left for work, how she used to serve him food and say, Peter, don't forget to say thank you to God. He remembered her hands, rough but gentle, and her laughter. And then he remembered the slap. He covered his face and wept. God, what have I done? He whispered. I destroyed my own life with my own hands. The next morning, he decided to go to his mother's church one last time, hoping someone might know where she went. But the women there only shook their heads sadly. Brother Peter, one of them said, your mother left Lagos entirely. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. He walked out of the church slowly, tears rolling down his cheeks. Peter truly understood what it meant to lose everything, not just money or comfort, but love, peace, and a home. He realized that one act of disrespect had set fire to everything good in his life. He wanted to make things right, but it was too late. The house was gone. Ada, the one he was trying to impress, was also gone. And Veronica Chukwudi, his mother, the woman he thought would always be there, had disappeared into silence. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned some valuable lessons from this story. Kindly share with us the valuable lessons you have learned from this story as we interact in the comment section. Like this video, please, and kindly share out this video to your loved ones. Until I come your way again with another story, for now, from me, it is bye.